showing out, making moves, no doubt. FFA pride, it's what we're all about. From classroom dreams to real world flair, we got the stories you won't find anywhere. Beyond the jacket where the stories unfold, voices of the future, fearless and bold. Tune in now, let the passion ignite. It's more than a jacket, it's a way of life. Beyond the jacket where passion meets purpose.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Beyond the Jacket podcast. We're super excited to be filming after Commodity Classic with Ayla Tolentino. She is incredible and has so many diverse agricultural education projects. Ayla, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners and give them a glimpse of who you are?
Yeah, so I'm Ayla Tolentino. I live in Frankfort, Kentucky. I'm the vice president of my FFA chapter, and I created Ag in my state.
Wow, that's awesome. I cannot wait to dive in to your projects. When did you first find agriculture? Was it because of your family or maybe because of the Blue Jacket? How did you find agriculture?
So my dad has worked in landscaping for, I want to say, around 20 years now. And my mom has worked in ag marketing for so long. And then I was in a forest school group when I was like 4. So agriculture's been my life. So I've always grown up in ag.
I also grew up in ag. Not the landscaping side of things, but it's such a diverse industry for sure.
Yes.
I am so impressed by all of your projects. I know we talked a little bit prior to recording. I got to know you a little bit better. I first have to address 7th grade year. And for those of you listening, Ayla is in middle school. How impressive. Keep that in mind throughout the rest of her video. But let's talk about your agri-science fair project first. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so my agri-science fair project was in Plant Systems Division 1, and I did the research on expired seeds, if they were trash or treasure. So I tested 3 different years of 3 different seeds, and I made sure they were all from the same place and same manufacturer. And I tested them for around 30 days, keeping track of their growth and everything. And I found out that it depends on how much you're going to have to use those seeds. If you're a homesteader, you're not going to rely on those seeds as much as someone who relies on seed as profit.
That is definitely understandable. And what sparked your interest in this topic? Was it because of your dad and landscape, or maybe just a personal interest?
So we have a backyard garden, and I had noticed that when we have those seeds that expire, we don't really do anything with them. So I wanted to know what I could do with them. I wanted to know if I could still use them or if they were trash or treasure, kind of say.
No, I love the title. That is perfect in framing your experience. And I'm sure it was a treacherous experience standing on the national stage. Tell me how you felt about that.
Oh my gosh. It was such a cool experience. And I got to go with 2 friends from my school who had made it in the Animal Systems Division 2. And it was so much fun. We did so much fun stuff. It was me, my teacher, and her husband, and then my 2 friends that also made it to nationals. And just being there, because it was just so much fun. You don't find out what you placed for nationals until you're up on stage. And that was such a fun experience to do, even with my 7th grade project.
I think that's awesome that at 7th grade you got to stand on that stage. I got to stand on it once as a junior in high school for an LDE, and I just remember looking out across the crowd, and the lights are so blinding it just looks black. And there's 70 some odd thousand of your closest FFA friends sitting in the audience, and it's just such a awing experience. I don't even know if awing's a word, but that's what we're going to use today.
Yes.
But I am sure with all of your other projects that you will end up on that stage again, and I can only hope that happens for you. What specific seeds did you use? Was it like a certain crop, or did you just try to more focus on the manufacturer?
So I focused on 3 different years. So I had 25, 25s, 24s, and 22s. And with those 3 years, I did 3 different types of seeds in each one of those years. So I did tomato, radish, and jalapeno, all from southern states, which were all manufactured from Turner Seeds.
That's awesome. And because of this, you were recognized by the state senate, I hear?
Yes.
how did that feel? I'm sure it was definitely one of those experiences where you were nervous, but you were excited.
Yeah, I just felt so happy to know that it wasn't just my teachers or my classmates that were cheering me on. It was the whole state that was cheering me on. And to have people cheer me on all around the state of Kentucky, it's just somewhere where I can call home.
To have people in your corner is such a
Yes.
special thing. And I'm not much older than you, Ayla, but to look back and just reminisce on the people that supported you along the way, they're definitely special, and they just keep your spark ignited to want to do more and achieve more on your to-do list. And move forward. It said that your mom was a integral part of your experiment when I read up on it. What did she
Yeah.
help you do?
Okay, so, well, my mom helps me do everything. I'm so glad to have
Yes,
her.
too.
So with that project, she helped me find all the seeds. I had gotten help from other teachers finding those seeds, but she also helped by driving places and going and reaching out. But she also reached out another way. When I was done conducting all that research and I was going to nationals, she helped me and gave me the idea of emailing southern states and just to ask and tell them about my project and maybe ask for a sponsorship for at nationals.
That's awesome. I love
Yeah.
that the ag community can rally behind FFA students
Oh,
and
yeah.
they support them and just stand beside them, because FFA students are the next generation of agriculture, and investing in them and their SAE projects is probably, in my opinion, one of the better investments you can make as a business owner by investing in the Blue Jacket. But we don't need to spend all our time on your most famous project. Because ag communications is my jam, absolutely want to hear all about ag in my state. What is ag in my state?
So, Ag in My State is an SAE, which is a supervised agriculture experience, which you have to do when you take ag classes. And so it's a project where I go around the state of Kentucky interviewing different people in agriculture, because I really want to teach kids that there's so many more careers and jobs and awesome things in agriculture. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And with this project, how far have you traveled? How many miles have you gained? Have you ever done the math?
I have not done the math, but I started the first episode just next 2 towns over, which was nice, with a farmer. And then I did Ducks Unlimited while I was at Nationals. So I did get some of those interviews when I was at Nationals, which was up in Indianapolis. So I haven't done the math yet, but I do have one that's maybe an hour away from home. But
Well, there you go. You have a nice
Yeah.
distance, little road trip every once in a while to do
Yes.
what you're passionate about. And what gap were you trying to fill with this project? I know when I did my ag communications SAE, I just wanted to educate solely on Florida agriculture as a whole. And then I moved into kind of across the nation, but I didn't interview people like you did. And I wish I would have, but that's why Beyond the Jacket was born. I get to interview amazing FFA students each week. But what gap were you trying to fill?
So the gap I was trying to fill was that you can go online and you can research anything. And usually some of those videos are led by adults. So I wanted to create something that was student-led learning videos. I wanted people to learn from a student, especially students to learn from me.
That's awesome. That's so inspiring. I think that's why Ag in My State and Beyond the Jacket are so unique. I might not be actively in the Blue Jacket, but I was when we started the podcast. And I know that made such an impact on students, was being able to see the experience of others and become inspired, and your ability to highlight ag industries that some people might not think of, because a lot of people feel like agriculture is just farming, and it's absolutely not. There's so many careers here where you could be an advocate for our industry. What is one of those careers that you have loved learning about the most?
Oh, that's such a hard one.
You can have multiple.
I would say probably conservation, learning more about conservation and the work that goes into that.
Conservation is so unique in our industry.
Yes.
And my grandfather always said he wanted my family's cow-calf operation to look like Central Park. preserved natural Florida. And if Florida decided to develop all around it, that would be okay because it would be like Central Park. And that way his great, 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 great grandkids can still enjoy the land just as much as he did. And I think that's a common theme we find in a lot of farmers and ranchers across our nation. It's just to keep that land in agriculture.
I love that. That's so cute.
Absolutely. And why is this project so important to you?
I would probably have to say the reason why it's so important to me is because it's teaching kids there's so much more. It's not just cows and corn. It's so many more awesome things. So where I'm able to teach kids that, it's just such a cool experience to do.
It is. You've interviewed so many different farmers, especially some nonprofits and some YouTube farmers. What has surprised you most about those types of careers?
Wow. What probably had to surprise me was the work.
It is a lot.
But also, I would say the second thing that mostly surprised me is that agriculture is such a large industry. But everyone knows everyone.
Yes.
So it's also such a small community within.
Last week when I traveled for the first time with Farm for Profit podcast, which is like the mother podcast over Beyond the Jacket, we showed up to Commodity Classic, and obviously it was about corn and soybeans, which, Ayla, I don't know if you know, I'm from Florida, so that's a foreign industry for me, for sure. I don't know a whole lot about it. And we got there, and everybody knew everybody. And there's 12,000 people there. And I was like, oh my gosh. It's such a tight-knit community. And kind of like we were discussing earlier, people are in your corner. If your tractor breaks down, you can call Farmer Joe 2 miles down and be like, hey, I need help. And at the push of a button, they would be there. And I think that's something super unique about the agriculture industry for sure. But you also published a book. That's impressive at 8th grade. Tell us about your workbook.
So my workbook is all about Kentucky agriculture, focusing on equine and horses, or bourbon in Kentucky, or the conservation and all that in Kentucky. It focuses on all the types of agriculture within Kentucky.
That's awesome. And what inspired you to create your workbook? Just to go along like with your episodes online, or what kind of sparked that initiative?
It's actually kind of funny. So I was creating just activity pages for my little sister. And so then I decided to just keep making them. And I was like, okay, maybe let's try a workbook. And so I spent 4 months working on this workbook, but it was so much fun working on it.
I love that. I also love graphic design. I'm not great at video editing, and I work for a podcast, but I definitely love static posts and things of that nature, and just being able to let your creativity flow and representing an industry that we love at the same time is unique. Does your workbook teach? Is it more like reading and a coloring page? When you open the pages, what are your readers going to see?
So the readers, they'll see little paragraphs as well, like you said, with paragraphs with coloring pages, but also activities. I know one of my favorite pages is Farm to Plate, and they get to draw their favorite meal. There's also one of create your own ear tag for a cow. So they're just going to see coloring pages, word searches, scrambles, a bunch of different activities that are linked around agriculture.
That's awesome. For those parents listening in, or ag teachers, get some of these for your classroom, man. These are cool. What was the publishing process like? I'm sure that could have been daunting.
Shooey. So I sell them on Amazon, and Amazon is so tedious about their templates and the way they like exactly everything. No hate towards Amazon. I love Amazon. But it took forever to have those pages lined up perfectly to where it wouldn't be in the book or anything. But thankfully, my mom was there to help me, because I don't know how I would have handled that, though.
Absolutely. I'm sure There's always struggles that you have to deal with in communications and meeting certain criteria, but it only makes you that much better. And the experience you gain now will just level you up in the future. And the mistakes you make, if you take nothing away from this episode, Ayla, is that the things you learn from your mistakes are better than having 100 successes. It's definitely a lesson I've had to learn as a type A girl. But plan B is not always a bad path to take
Yeah.
either. You're bringing in a small profit though off of all of this. What eventually made the change from it's not a project, now it's a full-blown business?
Well, it was my first post I made with about maybe 2 photos of what the coloring book looked like. It was so crazy because I posted it and it got around, I want to say, 200,000 views. And just to see these,
Wow.
yeah. And just to see these comments filling in of people being so supportive about it. Actually, one of the first people who bought it when it went live on Amazon was our very own Commissioner Shell Jonathan. And just to see him buy a workbook and to see everyone who is so supportive of it buy a workbook was just so cool.
That's awesome. I'll definitely have to look further into your workbook. It sounds phenomenal. And what has this entrepreneurship project taught you that a classroom maybe didn't, or FFA competitions don't really highlight? What is something that stuck out about your project that you'll carry on with you?
To be wise with my money. I would say to handle how to be wise with it.
That's a good lesson to learn. I'm in college and I'm broke, and managing money is a very good skill to have, no matter what age you are. And to put even more toppings on your Sunday today, you were 2026 Ag Author of the Year, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. That's awesome.
So, yeah, the Kentucky Department of Agriculture was holding a book contest, and they gave a prompt of to write about dairy cows. And so I decided, let's do it. Writing may not be so easy for me, but it's going to be a fun challenge. So I wrote the book and I submitted it in. And then later I found out that I was the winner and I became the author.
That's awesome. And what inspired you to do that? Just you found the opportunity, you were like, that sounds like right up my alley? Or did somebody have to kind of give you a nudge?
Well, I had saw it on their posts and everything. And at first I was like, I'm dyslexic, so I cannot spell.
Neither can I, and I'm not dyslexic. So
Chewy.
don't hold that against you.
Yeah, no, but I want to say what inspired me to write about it was about my friend's dairy cow. She has a bunch of dairy cows at her house, and I help her out sometimes. So when I was thinking, what would I even write this book about with dairy cows? I thought of my best friend, and I thought about her dairy cows.
That's awesome. I love that. And not to mention that this book is found in every elementary school across the state of Kentucky. I'm sure you feel a huge sense of pride. What went through your mind when that happened?
Well, to know that that book will be at schools for years and years in a place of education for kiddos.
Absolutely. I know that as you look at your impact and what you're going to leave in this life, that's definitely something, no matter where you go, if you stay in agriculture or if you work more in communications, that's a moment you will never forget. You also have some statewide impact beyond your book, the workbook, and the National Agri-Science Project. What is All In for Ag Week?
So, All In for Ag Week is an entire week shaped around showing how agriculture comes together and all about it.
That's awesome. Agriculture, it comes together in so many different ways. One of my favorite things in my local community at home was our Farm City Luncheon. I got to keynote speak there a couple years in high school for the county I lived in, as well as some surrounding counties. Watching the community come together and network between agriculturalists and business owners, and then open the eyes to the perspectives, was definitely inspiring for me in the industry that you and I are in, Ayla, because our job is to communicate what the farmers aren't great at. um,
Yeah.
by all means. You were invited to travel for All In for Ag Week. What
hmm
does that invitation mean, and where are you going?
It means, okay, so that invitation means that I get to be a part of showing kids about agriculture and telling them all about it. And it means that I get to go to different schools in different counties that are lined up. So I may get to read to classrooms or may get to hang out with middle schoolers, and I get to do a bunch of fun things with them.
And what are you most excited about? Is it
Oh,
reading? Is it just the travel in general? What's exciting?
okay. We all know elementary students. I am so excited to know what kind of questions they're going to ask because we all know what runs their little elementary kiddo's mind. So I'm just excited to hear their questions.
I worked with a group of students in high school from kindergarten all the way up to 8th grade. So that's quite an age gap that you can imagine. And some of the questions are quite unique, and they just they make you giggle, and they definitely drive you to do a little more, and
Yeah.
they just keep that light shining. You did a virtual field trip too of a dairy farm. Talk to me about that process. That seems super cool. You can get in more schools and things like that instead of bringing them all to you. How'd that work?
So that's actually coming up. That will be during All in Frog Week.
Oh, okay. See, I'm ahead of schedule. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
You'll have
no.
to let us know how it goes.
Yes, I will. So I'm just so excited for that.
And beyond all of your projects, you're a chapter officer. You just
hmm
keep going above and beyond. I don't know how you even go to school. I am utterly impressed. As the vice president of your FFA chapter, what's your leadership style?
My leadership style would have to be welcoming and super chill, just making sure that everyone feels welcome and that they feel like they have a place.
That's a great place to be. I know that it can be daunting to be in a leadership position, but when you connect with your members and really show them that a title doesn't mean much, you're still kind of all on level playing field. You just kind of get to
Yes.
direct them on their path to greatness. And
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed my time as an officer. And what has this taught you? You teach a lot of kids, but what has being an officer taught you?
Okay. So being an officer has taught me that it's better to work as a team, not just by yourself, to work as a team and per se pick each other's brains and get each ideas from each other, to work as a team to help everyone else within those members as well.
To know your weakness and your strengths and to collaborate on them, because Ayla and Paige might be really great at communication, but Joe Bob might be better at math. That's why you and I aren't the treasurer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's such a cool part of being on an officer team. But how do you balance all of this? A student, a researcher, an author? How do you balance all of that? Please tell me you take a self-care day every once in a while.
I do. I definitely do. But also just having notes and a calendar app and making sure I'm not putting too much on my plate per se.
Yeah, not biting off more than you can chew. I live by a Google Calendar as well as a physical one. And
Yep.
all of my tasks have to be in both, or I'm sure I will forget. I was told once, I think I was in 8th grade, that every successful person has a calendar. And I don't know why that stuck with me. I carried a calendar then, like you do. I still carry one now. But I think it really just makes sure that you're on time and you're there and you're prepared. You've been recognized on the state and national level, and you are a huge role model for those that are younger than you. How do you handle that? I know that could possibly be a lot of pressure.
Wow. Okay. So the way I handle that is by making sure I'm not setting myself to that high standard, saying, oh, well, I got this and this. So we're not the same. I'm making sure that we're all equal. I'm making sure that I'm not going to treat someone different than me. I'm going to make sure that we're all the same. I'm not going to hold myself to higher standards, and I wouldn't want someone else to hold that standard high for me either.
I love that. I just had to read a book called The H Factor, and the H Factor stands for humility, and humility in leadership is the number one quality you can possess. And it was saying that focusing on your past achievements make you prideful. Focusing on the future makes you arrogant. But focusing on the here and the now, and knowing that both your past and your future contribute to the moment you are in now, but leading humbly and moving forward and standing on that level playing field is so important and so wise beyond your years. Well, Ayla, when you look at everything you're doing, what connects it all?
The way it all connects for me is through agriculture. Everything that I do, it connects through agriculture and just makes it something for me to do.
I love that it ties it all together in a cute little bow.
Yes, definitely.
Your motivation behind all of your actions is our industry. And our industry needs more people like you, Ayla, to stand up and fight for it and to educate. So it's very impressive. And I've thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you about your projects and your time in the Blue Jacket. But who are you beyond the jacket? What do you like to do in your free time, if you have any?
Yeah, so I'm a big sister to my little sister who's 6. I am a daughter. I do swim team in the summer, but one that surprises people is that I do CrossFit 3 times a week at a gym here in town. I'm a little gym rat.
It's good. I could probably take some motivation of yours to go to the gym. I enjoy it too, but I can't seem to get my butt to the gym, unfortunately. And what kind of legacy do you hope to leave on Kentucky agriculture?
The ag is for everyone. Girls, the city kids like me, kids with ADHD or dyslexia. It's for everyone, not just for one type of person.
And if, like, you had to choose one thing to tell a younger member, or maybe even somebody older than you, a piece of advice, what would it be?
If you're passionate about it, I would say go ahead and do it. What's the worst thing that could happen? You're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, that's so true. Trying the new things, dabbling in the unknown, just pushing your limits slightly is the only way to grow. I mean, I totally agree with you. I have some rapid fire questions for you, and then we have to wrap up our time today. I hope that we can get a few more times with you in the future and see where you're going and connect again, because these projects are so inspiring. So, Ayla, early mornings in the research lab or a book tour?
Book tour.
I agree. I would like the book tour too.
Yeah.
And do you prefer writing down in a notebook or being on a microphone on a podcast like Beyond the Jacket?
I would say a podcast, microphone.
Amplify that voice. Absolutely. Yeah. And one word to describe all of your FFA experiences.
Enjoyment.
I love that. That's so good. And I'm going to try to stump you with a tough one. What's your dream career in agriculture?
Oh, I already have this.
Oh, there you go. Not hard at all.
Yeah, so I want to be the first female host of Kentucky Afield, which is the longest running outdoor show in the world. And they've never had a female host, so I want to be the first one.
You keep striving for that goal, Ayla. There's no doubt in my mind that you can't do it. You are phenomenal, and I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation today. For those of you listening in, please give Ayla a follow online and wish her the best of luck in all of her future endeavors. I thoroughly enjoyed getting to meet you and learn about your projects, Ayla. Thank you for going Beyond the Jacket with me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.